Hey everybody, Pastor Jay here. We're coming back to Scripture Saturdays. We had a few weeks off. We celebrated Holy Week and Easter, and now we're right back to the grind. And today we're going to look at Psalm 16. What a great psalm to look at to express to us or hammer in that point of Easter that we just celebrated, while also setting us up for this coming week and the weeks ahead as we move further away from the resurrection tomb, but still hold on to the reality and good news that it brings us. Today we're looking at Psalm 16, like I said. It's 11 verses, so what we'll do is we'll read the whole thing. I'll make a few points, and then we'll post some questions for you in the post on Facebook here. So let's get right into it. Psalm 16, you can use whatever translation you want. I'm using an NIV 1984. You can find those maybe if you have an old NIV Bible, but feel free to listen or write down some of those changes you might notice. This psalm, just real quickly here, is one of the messianic psalms. There's a section in here that specifically takes us from this Psalm of David to Jesus. And let's see if you can figure out where that is in this psalm. But starting off in verse 1, David says, "Keep me safe, O God, for in you I take refuge. I said to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. As for the saints who are in the land, they are the glorious ones in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those will increase who run after other gods. I will not pour out their libations of blood, nor take up their names on my lips. Lord, you have assigned me my portion and my cup. You have made my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. I will praise you, Lord, who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the grave, nor will you let your Holy One see decay. You have made known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand." Beautiful psalm. You probably maybe figured out which one foreshadows Jesus specifically. It's give you a hint. It's one that the Apostle Peter points to in the book of Acts in his Sermon on the Mount, or not a Sermon on the Mount, but his sermon from the upper room to the people that were gathering there for the festival service. But let's take that back just slightly. Go back to verse 1 and 2. In it, this beautiful psalm grounds us. It says, "Keep me safe, O God, for I take refuge in you. You are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing." David, for his military might, for his superb talents as a shepherd, as a musician, as a leader, as a warrior, for all that he has going for him, the love of the people, the respect of the people, David acknowledges right off the bat that God, his Lord, is the source of all good things. And if he has everything else, but he doesn't have the Lord, then he has nothing. Then all of it is just like a gust of wind, a vapor, meaningless, as his son Solomon would talk about later in a different book of the scriptures. But David is saying, God, you are my inheritance. You're everything I need, everything I hope for, everything I want. You satisfy me in every way. You meet every need. And that's so important. There's one specific word in there that we don't really talk that much about as Lutherans, to a specific extent, because we want to make sure that we don't get into any false understandings of things. But it's that word Lord. Lord, in a medieval time frame, was a position of status. Peasants would call them Lord such and such, or it's kind of like the idea of someone saying sir to another person. But that's not how David means it here. David is not using that word and pertaining to calling someone sir or anything of that nature. What he's doing is fully submitting himself to the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the creator of heaven and earth, whom the stars and the expanse and the sky talk about his glory and express his magnitude. David recognizes that he isn't just the source of every sustenance as if God was a cosmic vending machine, that God is the one who is supremely in control. God is the one who is in supreme authority. God is the one who breathes, moves, desires, and the entire landscape of the world shifts, both globally as well as individually for David himself. And he says that he rests in that knowledge. And no matter how good or bad David's day would have gone as king of Israel, a united kingdom, he realizes that God is the one who's ultimately in control. He submits himself entirely to God, and he trusts in God, his Lord, for his rest and his security, his protection and his provision. And then David takes it over to verse 3 and 4, where he contrasts that with the people. He says, these people are my delight, but for those who worship other gods, I'm not going to honor them. I'm not going to sit here and tolerate it. They are going to suffer griefs. Luther said that the human heart is an idol factory. It's constantly pumping out idols. We often just look at that as a sense of, well, it's an idol of bronze or gold or silver or wood. But in our 21st century world, idols aren't necessarily something that we put on the shelf or that sit in a bag and serve as our household gods. Oftentimes, idols are more common and accessible, like our schedule or the television or any electronics or the athletics of our kids, our relationships with our kids or our spouse, putting them, their desires, their pursuits above God's, where we might take a step back in the role that we were called to do in connection to that relationship to God and these people in our homes, and we allow them to kind of just do their thing. Maybe because we're afraid of how to do it right or if we're going to do it wrong, but we take a step back, and in doing so, we elevate them as our gods. And what David is ultimately discussing here is faithfulness. Faithfulness to God, faithfulness to our vocations, faithfulness in our worship. He's dealing with first commandment issues. I will have no other gods but you. You, O Lord, are the only true God. And David makes a point to say, these other people, though I love them, though I delight in them, if their God or gods is something other than the true God, then they'll suffer a life of many sufferings and pains. Probably know a few people like that. But then he ends it so beautifully in verses 9 through 11. And if you were able to figure out which one foreshadowed Jesus, it is verse 10 in that section where it says, because you will not abandon me to the grave, nor will you let your Holy One see decay. Peter on Pentecost says, David wrote this. He penned this in the scriptures under divine inspiration, and yet David's body has been decaying for a long time. But Jesus's body as Lord, as God, never has. He rose from the dead on the third day, and he sits glorious and splendid. What David is talking about here is that God, who is the source of life, will not let us experience eternal death. That's really the idea that David is bringing out here. He's saying because Jesus, the Holy One of the Father, did not see decay, because he rose from death, that we, as people who trust in and who have refuge in him and know that all good things come from him, we will not see death forever. We might sleep, there might be a tomb, there might be a casket, there might be an urn, there might be ashes sprinkled in the sea, doesn't really matter, but that is not the end of the story. The grave doors are not shut, the stone is not rolled in, never to be seen or heard from again, those inside, because God's Holy One has not seen decay. David says that our lives are full. Our lives are full in the God who is our refuge and our strength. Friends, God bless your week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful day.